tap, tap. It is now 7:02 and I'm going to start the Sanborn. Oh, nope, he didn't. Did you start the timing?
Yeah, I can go.
Oh, okay, sorry. It's 7:02. I'm going to start the Sanborn Regional School District Budget Committee meeting. It's September 5th, 2024. And first is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And roll call, we have no one on the line. I have Brooks, Terry, Dan, Amanda, myself, Matt, Malilla, Pam, and Micah here. Ken is absent. We'll mark that on the meeting minutes. And for the agenda, today we have approving minutes, budget calendar, a quick school board update, an overview of the budget process, and then talking about next steps on the review process. So those are the 5 or 6 topics we'll be talking about. Approval of the minutes. I know they went out late. For all of you that haven't seen it yet, Eileen, for personal reasons, won't be able to be our secretary this year. So I'll be filling in on the meeting minutes. And for now, until we can have someone or we recruit someone, Phyllis has the role posted. If you guys have anyone in mind, please send that their way. But here's the meeting minutes for the 16th. And part of that was including the email chain from back in with regards to the November meeting minutes. So those 2 things are there. Take a quick peek at it if you haven't, and let me know if you have any adjustments. Move to approve. Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right. Minutes for May 16, 2024 have been approved unanimously. Thank you for that. Up next is the draft budget calendar, and it is going out for approval in the next week.
It's gonna, well, the board has to approve it.
Yes.
So it's just awaiting a review by our attorney. So it'll be approved by the board on October 2nd. But I've looked at the DRA recommendations, and what's there in the draft is pretty much it. There's maybe a minor tweak that doesn't affect anything. So the draft budget calendar is reliable to review. I believe I reviewed it with you all at the previous meeting.
Yes.
So.
And that is listed in that drafted PDF is in our Google Drive under today's meeting agenda and minutes. And we'll post it elsewhere, but there is at least one place you can find it. It's probably going to be in a couple different places. So this meeting here is just to introduce us to last year's budget and how we did, and for us to have an opportunity to like see the budget, get used to the accounting, ask any questions before they present the new budget. So this meeting here is just really to talk about how we did last year and open up the opportunity for us to ask questions. Any questions on calendar? Micah, anything coming from the school board?
Nothing has been done yet this year that is relevant to the budget process at the school board, but we did at our last meeting talk about, we sort of initiated conversations around goals for the year, which will sort of dovetail into our strategic plan. So we're looking forward to, I'm looking forward in the next meeting to give a more detailed update about what those goals are and how they will, once they've been refined by the board, and how they'll impact the budget and things that this committee is going to be concerned with.
Awesome. Any questions or comments for Micah?
I love the idea of that vocational center
Yeah.
that Tom envisions.
Yeah,
Sounds
we
great.
thought about that last night. It's one of the things that we were discussing was the eventuality of Fremont students slowly leaving and what opportunity that presents for us. You know, we worked hard to try and keep them here, but now that we know that they're not going to be staying, we're excited about the possibilities that it also creates for us.
All right, thanks, Micah. Nothing else? I'm gonna pass it to Matt for overview.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously I'm new to the committee and new to this position. And so just before I kind of launch into that, please know that if you don't know me yet, I tell it like it is, transparent. So, um, you know, but I also like to know things ahead of time. So if you have questions, if you got things you want to know, please give me a heads up, especially year one. There's going to be times where I'm going to have to go look things up. So chances are, if I get a question on the spot, I'm going to say, I'm going to get back to you because I don't want to give you misinformation. The last thing I want to do is tell you or the community, answer a question and then have to backtrack because I looked it up abruptly and, just I'm also very careful in that regard and very detailed, which is just how I operate. But, I'm so far very excited about this role. I'm happy to work with you all in this committee and just looking forward to it. So I know our next meeting, I'll be answering questions from you about last year's budget, this year's budget. I know Courtney put together, Matt Angel, my predecessor, had put together 6 years worth of budget data. We added the actual expenditures from the FY24 back sometime in August. I forget when I added it in. So that's been there. But Courtney added, you added at least one tab for questions, and then there we can speak to those later. So, tonight is really just, again, some of you have been working this committee for years, and what I'll talk about might be review. Some of you might be new. So it's just going to be a quick kind of overview of the budget, count code structure, because that really explains each line of the budget. So that's really what I'm going to present.
Yes.
Okay.
And the account structure, when I figured I made it up the first year on my own, so this was very helpful. I was like, oh, there's a method to the
There's a method to the madness.
madness. So thank you, Matt.
I inherited the madness.
All right, he's gonna.
All right, so everybody hear me? Is it good? What's that? I'll hit the lights. Good. How's it sound? Does it sound good? Okay. Yeah, so, all budget lines follow the same account code structure. You have those different levels there. I'm going to go through each one briefly. Starting with our funds, which, the first slide is kind of the one that is the only one that I'm going to bore you with some terminology or technical definitions. This is, from the National Council of Government Accounting. And, government accounting systems should be organized and operated on a fund basis. A fund is defined as a fiscal and accounting entity with a self-balancing set of accounts recording cash and other financial resources together with all related liabilities and residual equities and balances and changes therein. While there are different types of funds, here at Sanborn and most schools in New Hampshire operate these funds. We have the general fund, which is the main operating fund. Special reserve funds, which include things like food service, the facility use revolving fund, some student activity accounts. And then there are two types of fiduciary funds. You get our trust funds, which are for scholarships, and our agency funds, which are for other student activities. With respect to the funds, okay, the general fund is that main operating fund. When you look at the account codes, the first two digits, that's the fund. General fund is Fund 10, okay? And again, that's where the unrestricted proceeds are spent for core programs and, such as, regular and special education, guidance, library, administration, and facilities, things of that nature. The other funds have restrictions of when and how we can use those proceeds. Next level of in the account code structure, we have the functions. The functions describe the activity for which a service or material object is acquired. There are quite a few functions within the New Hampshire codes. We use these here. Like, the 1100 series, basically it's that 4-digit code that starts with 11. That's for regular programs. I'm not going to go through all of them, but the 1200 series covers special ed and other programs like bilingual. 1300 series will cover your vocational programs. That would be like CTE or the kids who go to SST in Exeter. Again, you can see all the function codes listed there. From there, you move on to the subject code, and it's exactly what you think. It's the subject. So these are typically just used in middle school, high school budgets. At the elementary grades, all subjects are kind of combined into a grade level. But at the middle school and high school level, especially in recent years, the last year or so, we've gotten better about developing budgets by subject. So you can clearly see where the expenditures are going. I remember back when I was a department chair at a district nearby, I had a $70,000 budget for that department, which is actually it started at 90. I think I cut it to 70, then 52. But anyway, point being, I didn't have to give any detail. I would just put in $20,000 for equipment, $30,000 for textbooks, $20,000 for supplies. But as you've probably, if those of you have been on the committee, you'll see that it gets very granular now. So you actually see in most cases, especially the middle school, high school level, where the money's going, what it's being spent on, and you can understand maybe, why it's important. It's not just rolling a budget from year to year. Moving on to the object codes. Okay, so these specify the service or commodity type that's being purchased. If you see an object code that begins with 5.1, it's for salaries or wages. Anything starting with 5.2 in this 5-digit code will be, an employee benefit. And you can see on down the line. Again, when and a lot of you looked at the budget, you'll start seeing these trends in the budget. You'll see these patterns where, every department might have an object code that begins with 5.6. It's probably 5.6100, which is supply lines. And the budget goes from being this massive document with 1,500 lines that are seemingly disjointed to actually having patterns. And if you sort things on a spreadsheet, you can make sense of it pretty quickly.
Can I ask one quick question on
Yeah.
the subject one? Back it up. If it does, there is no subject, is it just 0, 0?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. There are many. Yeah. So there are many budget items where the subject could be 0, the level could be 0, the location could be 0.
Okay.
I'll get to the project in a minute. The project is often 0, which you'll understand why. The next two I lumped together because they're very similar. Level is literally the level. Is it a district expense, elementary, middle, or high? 0, 1, 2, 3 in that 1-digit code. And then the location, whether it's pre-K kindergarten, Bakey Elementary, Memorial Elementary, middle, or high, has its own code of 20, 21, 22, 25, or 27. As you can see there, because it's the location code is 27, then the level has to be 3. So they kind of go hand in hand. And lastly, the project code, most of our lines don't have this because project codes pertain to state and federal grants and are really used to indicate that the money has a restricted use, has a specific purpose. And we use that to summarize, for reporting purposes, how the money was spent to ensure that we met the expectations of that grant. So that's the account code structure. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it before. Any general questions about the account code structure? Okay. So if you have any in the next week while you're coming up with questions, just email me. Or if you think something seems strange, just shoot me an email. I'll explain it to you or clarify. The current year is a FY25 operating budget, which was approved by the voters on March 12th, is there. Based on the CBA that passed in March. The operating budget is $40,222,033. Utilities, because we've been negotiating utilities for the coming year, I had this information readily available, and as of June 30th, we'd used 1.54 million kilowatts of electricity. We squeezed it was a warm winter last year, so even though the previous year we had budgeted 85,000 gallons of oil, and this past year we only budgeted 75,000, it was hard to squeeze 75,000 into the tanks, but again, it was a warm winter last year. We signed a contract for another 75,000 gallons this winter because we expect to be a little bit colder, but we'll see. And then propane makes up a relatively small part of the utility budget with only 20,000 gallons. And the last slide I have is really just some resources. The first link, which really provides, I don't know how lengthy the document is. I've looked at it. It's well over 100 pages, but it provides a really comprehensive overview of the budget process for all towns, districts, village districts, and school districts in New Hampshire. So if you haven't looked at that, it might be worth your time. The DRA actually there's a lot of good information on the DRA that for municipalities, actually, I don't want to speak. I might be mixing up my websites because I regularly use the DRA and the DOE, so I'm not going to comment on the DRA except I might be commenting on the DOE. But there are a lot of very relevant, useful information there. Data. Actually, I might be thinking of the iPlatform here. Go to this iPlatform on the DOE site. There's a lot of data for the district and the state and all districts that is readily available. And might be of interest to the committee. But that's really it in a nutshell, because I was really just trying to make, kind of preview our next meeting, which is about the budgets. If anybody at home is watching and they are curious about account code structure, they can, learn about that.
Matt, can I ask you, might not know it, but off the top of your head, do you know where we use propane?
What's that?
Which building do we use propane in?
We have, I delegated that to Ms. Corsia and the facilities, because we switched vendors and we had to switch out tanks, which did not cost us anything. We had a number of underground tanks, a number of above ground tanks. The above ground tanks had to be swapped out. I want to say it was at least 10 tanks. I think every building uses it because I'm guessing that the kitchens use them.
Gotcha.
That would be my guess at each building, all three.
That makes sense.
But I could double check.
For the, I was more curious. Okay. It makes sense for the kitchen.
Could I ask just one question here? I understand all of that, but you mentioned SST in Exeter. What is SST?
Seacoast School of Technology. Yeah, we send a lot of our high school kids go there for like vocational classes. They're the one they have a large regional program over there. Kind of probably is what inspired the school board and administration. Again, I was actually sick last night. Luckily, my fever broke at this time last night. That's why I'm here tonight. I wasn't at the school board last night, but I missed the public conversation last night, but yeah, it's a large program and there's a fairly large budget item because we have a lot of students who go there to learn whether it's auto mechanics, welding, nursing, I'm going to misspeak, but really hands-on vocational programming.
So it's a regional.
Regional,
school.
yes, I know, yeah, yes, and there is a budget line for that. I think it's in the 1300 series. So if you looked it up, I think it's function 1300. We can go back and look.
That's right. I can look, right. I've never,
Yeah, right there. See vocational
okay.
under the 4-digit code under function.
So it's under.
The 1300 says vocational programming.
I had not noticed that one.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
I mean, it's a great program. It provides our kids, and I'm sure Brooks, you could speak to this, but I'll put you on the spot, but our kids here, I've taught in Exeter. Obviously I worked in the high school here before I moved over to the SAU. Kids gain a lot from the program,
And
and
these are classes that we cannot provide for them here in this.
not currently at that level. But I think that's part of the,
Yeah. I mean, if, for example, as an example that we've been using, I think Tom mentioned this last night, that there's a student, I don't know if it's who will be graduating or did graduate, I can't remember. But with, there was 2 different things. Does anybody remember? It was, one of them was an LNA certification. So a licensed nursing assistant right out of high school. And another certification. I know we've graduated people with EMT certification. Yeah, an EMT as well. So this is it's a big opportunity for a lot of students to get a head start on career paths with some really good experience right out of the gate.
yeah, it would complement the ELO and internship program that Miss Alley runs here. Where kids gain, they do internships. So if they're into HVAC, while they're in high school, they can get different certificates, not licenses. I'm mixing up my terms, but they get on the job training, and some of them will graduate from high school and quote me if I'm wrong, but I think they might start at 50 plus, just right out of high school, and they're college graduates that struggle to do that, and they're doing something they love, and they have a career path. So.
I was under the impression that we had quite a big facility here in this building, like with auto mechanics and.
Yep.
We do.
I think we might need to,
The tour last year with all of the amazing classes that they are able to offer here.
it might be worth us doing like a tour of other facilities. I know like the SST is much bigger than this, like significantly bigger. Cause I was in that district and visited it, and here we have a couple of like maybe I think 3 bays for auto. About one spray booth for auto body, a welding shop, and one wood shop. And I mean, it's good. It gets the kids started. I don't know how much, I think I'd have to look into what the limitations are. And how much we would potentially need to expand if it's minimal, or to really become, because we're going to accept kids from other places. Is that I don't want to put you on the spot, Micah, but and again, I wasn't here last night for my.
What was
health
the particular,
reasons.
I was just looking up something on SST here so I could give a better, potentially a description about the yeah, like for example, just a list of their academic programs they have there: animal and plant science, they have automotive, they've got building construction technologies, advanced computer science, culinary arts. So there's a sort of a very broad kind of vocational
And they go there
Training
full
up.
time?
I don't
Or is
think
it
so.
third?
No,
I
it's,
think
it
it's
could be
part of
by
the-
course, even students from Exeter High School, because at one time I was a teacher at Exeter High School, kids would leave for one class. and take a bus from Exeter High School to the SST, which is where the old Exeter High School was on Linden Street. And same thing with kids from Epping, I think Raymond, but maybe not, but certainly Epping here.
So students from here take a bus to
Yep.
go up there to.
Yep. There's a morning and a PM. Yep. Yep. And it could also be that you need a certain, you may want to actually bring tuition kids into your program to make it worthwhile, because if you have a small school and you may only have 3 kids interested in animal science, but if you pull from a surrounding pool and tuition kids in, then it's more viable. You can have a,
Potentially
that
feasible.
would be my guess. Just if you're going to offer all those programs, and Exeter High School is 3 times bigger than this one. Plus they pull kids in from other communities to SST. So, but
More to come.
yeah, more to come. Yeah.
Tom would be happy. I'm sure Tom would be happy to have a convo with you or Jen.
Yeah, I'd
I would
like
also,
Well, we
I
need to
fully
do it,
support.
yeah.
It's
I'd like to
great,
hear-
yeah.
more, but.
Yeah, it's
if
a great thing.
They have to apply and pass an I know some of the trade schools. What? In Massachusetts, yeah. They, there's a lottery or testing scores. I mean, it's very difficult to get into it.
Yeah, I don't know the details of that. I would lean on Principal Mitchelton or Superintendent Ambrose to give the official word on those things.
I can find about that. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
they'll love to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
It's
We're gonna hear more about this, I think, when we talk about the next budget that we're gonna review, but for this meeting here, I wanted Matt, I think you already have it pulled up. This is the spreadsheet that Matt was alluded to. This has our budget and our spends for the past 5 to 6 years. He just updated it for last year's. The intent for the next week is for everyone to have a chance to look at this spreadsheet, all thousands of lines.
Mm.
Now that we understand the account structure, maybe we can break it down. But there's also, I added a tab right here in the spreadsheet.
Oh, you want me to click on that for you? There you go.
So to consolidate the questions, put your account, the description. So this is all like copy paste. And then put your question in there and your initials. And then Matt can just on the 12th at midnight, Matt will have his full list and then he can go in and enter his answers. If he needs to put stuff into presentations or whatever, you can also do that. But this is the one-stop shop versus we used to have everyone fill out one form and then consolidate. My hope is that we can get 90% of our questions into this spreadsheet, this tab here, so that Matt can answer the question efficiently. And if we can see like, oh, Amanda already asked about that, so I'm not gonna ask about it. It's all in one place. Does that work for everyone? It makes sense? Awesome.
Yep. So going back to again, I'm guessing Matt Angel had put together this spreadsheet. So I think it now is 6 years of data. So yeah, the column that I just highlighted in yellow was the actuals, as of this summer, once everything closed out from FY24. You can see what was, adopted or, proposed right next to it. And then this year's current budget that we're operating under is to the right. But obviously you can go back to the future if you want to. There any questions about the spreadsheet here? Or if you start filling it out and find that there's something we should tweak, just email me and Courtney and we'll fix it or tweak it. Just, if something doesn't work well. Be happy to fix it.
So we'll find this spreadsheet only on that tab that you've.
Yep,
that you
if
have
you
it.
open where is it?
Yeah,
When you go into, sorry. our budget committee folder. Financial information. Right here, you see that
Okay.
they both are right there. So when you click on that spreadsheet that I just opened at the bottom, one of these tabs, right at the bottom, right here. That's the tab for you. So it's like one-stop shopping for both.
That's what I was trying. So it's not in multiple places. I was like, all in one spreadsheet, hopefully. Makes it a little bit easier.
So we want to have all of our questions on here by midnight on the 12th.
On the 12th,
Okay.
a week from today. And this is, for me, this is how I figured out the accounting and so that when I saw the actual budget, the new one, I wasn't completely confused.
Yeah.
So it was really helpful for me to go through it. And I like to see where we landed. This is my first budget that I actually helped. So, yeah. We'll see. I don't think there's anything else that I wanted to add on this. I just wanted to, we consolidated I think Matt showed it. We have planning for this year and then all the old stuff in another folder. So it's like you open up the shared drive, it's 2 folders. What are we doing right now? And then all our old stuff. And then even within the,
I can back out.
yeah.
So
Budget committee.
Budget committee.
We have one.
Right, so we just said, yeah, as you mentioned, Courtney, the past budgets and then this year's, this is what you want. On.
So planning, and then there's only 2 folders in here. One is for our agenda and meeting minutes. I'm gonna combine them into, each one has its own. So May 16th had one, today has one. And then any of the financial information. So these budgets that we're talking about are gonna land in here. So hopefully. But if
Right.
you guys have suggestions, yeah, let me know.
No, it looks a lot cleaner. Like
It
this.
was. If you go looking in the previous years, it gets wild, but I think for this year, we're in better shape. All right. Any questions on next steps?
So we have 1 week to review this and submit our questions.
That's just for last year's budget. We'll have another opportunity to ask questions
On the
when we get the new
forthcoming
Right,
budget.
this is just last year's budget,
Mhm.
right?
So. Public comment, or I'm gonna move on to
Oh.
public comment. There is no.
It's like can probably unplug, right?
Yep, you can unplug. Yep. Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
Are you gonna drink your water?
Oh, no, go ahead.
I'm like, I'm gonna drink this all. All right. All right. So. Oh man, I'm fading fast.
Stretch.
Committee comment. I just go around table. That's how I roll. Brooks, is there anything you wanna comment on or share?
I'm just curious about this vocational, facility that we're taught. I would like to get some more
Everybody's-
information on that. I'm very curious about this.
I'll speak to that when we get around to it.
Okay. Awesome. How about you, Terry?
Nope, I went through this last year. It was a real struggle in the beginning, so I'm hoping Brooks was able to follow it better than I was at this point last year, but no, I understand what we have to do and put our questions into a spreadsheet and then submit it to Matt. And, then at our next meeting, you address those questions.
You
correct?
actually, you just, once you enter it, it's there. You don't even have to submit. You can just close it.
Oh, okay.
No saving, no
Okay,
nothing.
It'll
It's
it'll just
whatever's there.
automatically.
Yep. It's a Google spreadsheet. Yep.
Live document.
So yeah, you can see who's working on it and then any questions people have.
Mhm.
Awesome. Dan, how you doing?
No, I'm good.
All right. Amanda,
No comments.
I'm good.
So I guess in October, we'll have the current enrollment figures coming up in the October report. I would like to see how our enrollment's doing
Yep.
for the next meeting. And any forecasts for the coming year would be nice, but I think it's probably a little early for that.
We go with that.
Congratulations on the improved math and reading scores. Just wanted to get that out there. And two other comments. So we will have Fremont freshmen here in the fall of 2025, but that's the last freshman class coming up. Fall of 2025, I think.
Might be 26.
I think I'd have to double check. Let me double check. I don't want
I just
Goes back to
wanted
me
to
not
make sure I
misspeaking.
remembered
to. Okay,
details on that.
I'll
So
find out for
I
you.
think it's the fall of 25, and they will continue paying tuition that year. But we made our final high school bond payment this past August.
Yes.
Yeah, nice.
Hmm.
And I was just curious, we've had some resignations of staff, which happens, people move to other schools. I'm just wondering, does that have anything to do with the less generous pay raise at the senior end of the pay grid versus the beginning new hires end? Because we need to even that out if we're gonna avoid added professional development spending. If people,
I know HR did exit interviews with everybody, but that wasn't shared with me.
right,
so-
well, that was a reason that we were able to pass the CBA, was that they were careful about where to place raises, but it might come back to bite us later on. So just curious about what that would impact the PD spending, professional development spending.
You could just base it on maybe people's experience. I'm just trying to think of the middle school people who left. They were all relatively new, so they were towards
Right.
the
So that's just a long-term question. And then my last comment is, I ran into someone, a Kingston voter today, and once again was asked, why is the budget increasing if we have declining enrollment? So for the 30th time, I explained to them that enrollment, that spending per pupil is not increasing. It's our spending's going up because inflation is rising.
Mhm.
But if you account for inflation, spending per pupil in real dollars is staying the same. So we're not spending more per pupil. There'd be reasons why we may want to spend more per pupil, and there may be good reasons, but we're not spending more per pupil. We're just keeping up with inflation.
Hmm.
I just want to point that out on video. Save that, stamp it, and play it again later. Thank you.
I threw the two questions actually into the spreadsheet. So the enrollment numbers and the Fremont students for the freshmen, just so,
I think there was a third question.
was
Or
there?
or resignations.
Oh, okay.
Related to pay scale.
We do meet,
So,
The improvements
yeah,
are
I could,
different for
I can-
newcomers versus senior.
I can say this about that. There was, obviously the bottom of the pay scale was where we needed to put a lot of the focus, right? Just because of the turnover. But one of the things that I know from having personally spoken to some veteran teachers, the narrative is we support this, right? This idea, because for them, turnover at the bottom of the pay scale actually impacts them negatively because they have to keep on training. They have to
Sure.
pick up slack, right? So the more that we can sort of build a solid foundation across, it actually ends up
Takes
benefiting
the
them as well.
workload up.
Right, it takes the workload off
Okay.
of some of the veteran teachers. So, but the question though is an interesting one.
This is a long-term.
Yeah, what could the long-term impact be?
Thanks.
Yeah.
Is the school fully staffed?
Matt.
I don't know if we've had a year since the pandemic fully staffed, and I know that, for instance, the middle school has at least 2 positions open. I'd have to double check on each building.
Mm.
Cause I'm not as well, I was directly involved in a building, but I mean, HR pretty much handles that. I could double check on staffing. Yeah.
I also
Just
want,
curious.
my only other addition is we still plan on meeting with all of the department heads when we present the budget. And so some of these are really good questions for that too. I put them on the spreadsheet so that we can keep track of them. But you also might get face-to-face time with our HR. I can picture her face.
Just Kelly Killen.
Yeah. And so you can, ask kind of some of those questions. So. Awesome. Pam, are you all set? I am. Awesome. Micah.
Yeah, just to follow up on your question, Brooks, about the vocational school idea. I want to make everyone sort of, I want to level set on that and say it's an idea, right? So it's not necessarily like everyone's gung ho about this. It's really just, it's an idea that we think is interesting. And last night, Tom also mentioned the idea of early childhood education here, right? He was sort of floating this idea of having an early childhood education, sort of a daycare type program here that could be both, an opportunity for the experience for early childhood ed for our students, but also function as daycare for teachers, which
Well,
is a,
what they're
is a
getting
huge
at.
incentive, right?
Yes.
So that's a really, it's a really great idea.
Well, I think the SST in Exeter has a child care center.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yep.
they have that.
So there's, but there's always a balance between, there's sort of this visioning process that has to happen to see, is this a direction that we want to go? And we don't want to make any decisions like that without doing a ton of research, talking to the community, getting, a really, really robust data set of opinions and ideas from everybody. So it's one exciting idea about what we can do for the future. So we're going to keep on refining and looking at that direction, but there's not much else to say than it's an exciting idea now.
Thank you.
All right. And we've reached the end of our agenda. Our next meeting is going to be September 19th at 7 o'clock here. And the time is 7:44. Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Okay.